Theophany says Trudeau kind of reminds me of Governor Cuomo, whose popularity soared just because of opposition to Trump. Yeah, so again, with the tariff thing, on Tuesday, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gave a speech where he talked about Canada responding to Trump's tariffs that were placed on our country, 25% across the board, apart from 10% on oil and gas. And it was a great speech. It was a wonderful speech. I liked it. I liked it a lot. New Brunswicker standing behind him. Nothing. What's not to like, right? But in it, Trudeau said something that I thought was most interesting, especially given what I want to share with you. So we know that these tariffs are going to hurt. Every American who buys produce is going to feel the pinch when 25% gets dropped on top of what's coming out of Mexico. You buy the American companies buy a lot of natural resources from Canada. Anything from furniture to metals to whatever the case might be, right? Like wood rather for furniture, metals, all that kind of stuff comes from Canada. Nickel's a huge deal coming out of Ontario. Oil coming out of Alberta, lumber coming out of Quebec and Ontario, BC, New Brunswick. Right? It's going to hit. It's going to hit hard. Americans are going to cough up a lot. Prices are going up. In response, Canada puts their own tariffs on. Prices here are going to go up. We're here in Canada. We're also going to see a huge amount of job loss. In my province alone, we might see thousands of people laid off. Ontario, I think the numbers could be as high as, what did they say, 150,000 in Ontario alone. This is big. People are going to pay. This morning, as I was thinking about the news and as I was thinking about Trudeau's words, what he said was, I want to speak to the American people, he says. We want to work with you. We don't want to do this, is the first thing he says. We don't want to do this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. We don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. Now that hit hard. And I don't know, I think I was listening to, you remember that song? It went like viral a couple of years ago. Rich Men North of Richmond. I think he's a Virginian musician. That song popped into my brain. If anybody knows it, please put it in the comments so we can get this guy some credit. I apologize for not having that in front of me. But that's the thought that popped into my brain. Rich men north of Richmond. And then, of course, this popped into my brain next. I had to share it with you. Long live the king. And as I thought about this image and I thought about that song and I thought about all the people that work with Trump and all the people who work in Congress, all those people who are supporting him, all those people that aren't supporting him. As I thought about all the CEOs and executives of these companies, it occurred to me that man ain't going to miss a meal because of the tariffs he has put in place. That man isn't going to miss a meal because of the nonsense that he started. He's not going to go without a cheeseburger. He's not going to go without a slice of pizza. He's not going to go without his deep fried chicken. He ain't going to miss a meal because of his decisions to place tariffs on Canada and Mexico and China, as he has. He's not going to miss a meal for any of his decisions. He'll never go hungry. He'll never go thirsty. He will never go without the opportunity to see a doctor, to take his pills. He'll never go. He will not suffer in the ways that many millions of people are going to suffer because of his tariff decision. Now, I know somebody out there might say, well, but he's doing it for the country. No. To my American friends, you are going to do this for the country. Whatever this happens to be, whatever benefit America, the United States, is going to receive by putting these tariffs in place, it is going to be paid for by you, the regular, everyday people. And the further down the socioeconomic ladder you happen to be, the more you're going to pay for the greatness of America. But it won't be him. He won't pay a dime. There won't be an ounce of sweat. Like I said, he won't miss a meal. He won't ever have to decide, does my kid go to basketball camp this summer? Does my kid go to sailing camp this summer? Does my kid get oranges this week? Does my kid get apple juice? Do I put gas in the car or do I buy the medication? Do I pay for my car insurance or do I pay for my health care insurance? He's never going to have to make a decision like that. He and his cronies are perfectly insulated from the turmoil that they've started. They're going to be, apart from maybe having to deal with some angry constituents at a local town hall that apparently they've been told never to attend again, they're not going to suffer. They're not going to experience the same pain that their constituents are going to experience. They're not going to experience the same pain that they are foisting upon their constituents. For the sake of America, for the sake of making America great again, this guy and the people who are backing this guy up are asking you and me to pay. But they won't pay a dime. It won't cost them a thing. With all that being said, with that little rant behind me, 1 Samuel. In 1 Samuel, there's a story. We've talked about this a couple of times. I'm sure maybe you're sick of me talking about it, but I apologize. We're going to do it again. In the first book of Samuel, the people of Israel are tired of not having a king. They want a king. They want to be just like everybody else. They want a person who's going to come in and fix everything, just like all the other nations around them. Has a person that will just come in and fix everything. They want a person that will keep them safe. They want a person that will make decisions. They want a person that will bring them glory and bring them stature and bring them honor as a community, as a people, and as a country. God's like, no, you don't want that. You don't want that. Right? Through Samuel, God is like, you don't want that. It's not going to go well. Those kings, they don't operate the same way I operate. I give you everything that you need. You've got everything that you need because of me. You don't want what those other countries have because you already have what those other countries could never possibly have, and that's me. I got you. Count on me. Put your faith in me. Put your trust in me. Put your hope in me. We want a king. The people respond. So fine, I'll give you the king. And of course, the book of Samuel is the beginning of the story of the kings of Israel. But there's this one passage, 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 10 through 18. Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his group and to reap his harvest. his ground and reap his harvest. And still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and his attendants. Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys he will take for his own use. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and yourselves will become his slaves. And you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king that you have chosen. But the Lord will not answer you. This is the word of the Lord. Doesn't that sound familiar? Now, I've actually argued that's exactly what having a government, a parliament does. No, I'm not blaming bureaucrats. I'm not blaming people that work in government. They have a job to do. I get it. But this is what it's like having a ruler. This is what it's like when someone rules over you. This tariff decision with Canada, with Mexico, 25% is going to be paid by the American public. Now you might say, well, yes, because Canada has unfair trade practices. We signed his agreement and are living up to it. Yeah. But Canada has tariffs. Canada does have tariffs on American products like milk, for example. And those tariffs are huge. It's like 200%. That's true. Do you know why? It's because in the trade deal, there is an amount that the United States can send north for sale up here. But we also have to protect the dairy industry in Canada. And so above that cap, every ounce of milk is taxed at so many percent. But it's established in the trade agreement. It's not like we went, we're just going to throw that out there. It is established. Trump approved it. 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. Oh, well, yeah, but our banks aren't allowed into Canada. No, your banks are in Canada. There's I forget what Trudeau said yesterday. There's 15 American banks are in Canada. They hold $100 billion in assets. The problem American banks have with Canada is that we have laws that are put in place to protect customers. And American banks don't want to come up and put in the work that it takes to become a Canadian operating bank. They don't want those rules and things that are in place that protect customers. It's too much of an ask. They just want to come up and take over, right? Fentanyl and immigrants, it's like less than 1% come from this side of the border down into the U.S. He's choosing to do this, 25%. For whatever reason, I don't know. It's nothing that he's stated, though, because everything he stated has been, it's been wrong. Or, no, just wrong. This 25%, the American population will pay. The regular folks will pay. His constituents will pay. The constituents of those people in Congress and Senate who support him, they will pay them. The constituents of those governors who are supporting him, they will pay it. Those people that voted for him, they'll pay it. He'll never, ever pay it. This little trade kerfuffle that he started will never pain him in the least little bit. What do you and I do with this? We learn from it. We've got to learn from this. I get it. I know who Trump is. But sometimes I think he's just an exaggeration of a problem that is already present. Sometimes I think he's just an exaggeration of a system that is already present. It's just the system on crack and steroids, but it's already there. So for you and I going forward, we have to ask ourselves, does this system really work for us? Do these people who claim to work for the people they represent, do they actually? Do they have any clue what it's like where we are? Or are they just simply being the kings, the tyrants that Saul, the Lord through Saul, warned us about? Just people who are going to take from us and take from us and take from us and take from us. Amen.